I went to a retreat when I was in grade 8, and at this point I was so worn down with everything that had happened in my life.
But I had picked up a hitchhiker when I was driving from Peterborough to Havelock area, and I witnessed to the individual.
I had this friend named Brittany, and she loved to hear the Bible stories, and she was agnostic or atheist, or she just didn't really have an opinion about the Bible or about Christ or anything.
Yeah, I grew up in a very dysfunctional Christian family, and what that means is we went to church on Sundays, and they said they were Christians, but nobody acted like one in our home.
I was 18. It was a really bad day. I stayed up way too late the night before, and I ended up having a sleepless mental breakdown in front of all my family and friends, getting angry and stuff.
And I got to the point with God where I didn't trust that He was there, and it was really hard for me to believe in Him. And we were told to sit and listen for God to speak to us.
So I gave him the gospel, told him what it means to accept Christ.
So she'd randomly be like, Jacqueline, tell me a Bible story. And so I would, and I would just tell her a random Bible story that I was thinking about that week or whatever.
And it was a big fight to get to church, and there was no praying or any talk about God on any other day but Sunday. And
I'd always struggled with trying to be a good Christian, and nobody in any of the churches or youth groups I'd ever been to accepted me or loved me or cared about me or thought that I was doing a good job.
And so I sat on the floor and I just was like, hey God, this is pretty much this is it for me. If you're out there, I need you to show yourself to me, and I need you to be real for me. And I sat there and I waited for Him to talk to me.
A year later, I bumped into this guy on the canal. I was skating. And he said, remember me? And I said, well, you look kind of vaguely familiar.
But I was talking to her a couple weeks ago, and she told me that she had to tell me something. And I was like, oh man, what is it going to be? And she had been to the mall that day, and there was a clown who was handing things out, and she was like, why is there a clown in the mall? So she goes up to this clown, and he just starts talking to her about Jesus.
it led me to really rebel and not want anything to do with my parents' religion.
I was just sitting in this field, and this sounds really stupid, but I just realized that I was loved, and I just felt so loved. I was like, there's nobody in this field, and
And then all of a sudden I just felt like He was hugging me and felt like He was telling me He loved me. And that was amazing. I just broke down crying, and it was when God really became real to me.
He says, you told me about Christ over near Havelock in your car one day when you picked me up. I said, oh, yeah, I remember picking up somebody and dropping them off around there. He says, I accepted the Lord. And I just wanted to thank you.
And she thought back on all the stories that I told her and who I was in high school and stuff like that, and she gave her life to Christ in a mall. And she had to tell me about that, and I was just so excited. For all these times I was telling her stories about David and about the Israelites, and I never thought that it would come to anything, but I didn't know it, but I was planting seeds. And she's been going to church the past couple of months, and she joined a small group, and praise God.
It's funny how God allows you to wander out in the desert of your life for many years, and in my case it was 20 or 30 years later of a lot of abuse and a lot of hurt and pain and partying and all the rest of the crazy stuff you do. But eventually He brings you back in because you were always His. And so
I just realized it doesn't really matter if the church might be broken, because God isn't, and God loves me, and none of that other stuff matters, and it just felt real to me. And I was like, that's just where I started, and then ever since then I've been rebuilding.
It's hard to explain. It was just, you know it when you feel it. It's just His Spirit comes on you so strongly, and it's
wanting to love people more, wanting to forgive. God has given me that desire, and by His grace He's given me the ability to do things beyond what I can do by myself.
And the biggest way that I can really say is that He's turned anger and hatred into forgiveness, and I really don't think I could have done that without God.